Welcome to Deep Dive by the Quiet Footnote. Today we're taking a really delightful and surprisingly profound journey into a book that maybe at first glance seems utterly charming and frankly childlike. Benjamin Hoff's The Tao of Pooh. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Winnie-the-Pooh, that, honey-loving bear of very little brain. But that right there is precisely the genius of it. This seemingly whimsical book uses Pooh as this unexpected yet profoundly clear vessel for ancient Taoist wisdom.
Yeah, that's exactly what makes this such a fascinating deep dive. We're going to unpack Hoff's, brilliant counter-narrative. It's like a gentle rebellion, isn't it? Against the whole Western obsession with complexity and control and, let's be honest, just plain overthinking everything.
Yeah, just thinking too much.
Right. And through these familiar faces from the 100-Acre Wood, he guides us to understand these timeless philosophical ideas. And it shows us why this book, written decades ago, still feels so incredibly relevant today.
It's a bold move, though, isn't it? Taking a character like Pooh, who we think of as, simple-minded, and suggesting he holds the keys to profound Taoist clarity. What do you think was Hoff's, biggest stroke of genius in making that connection work? Making it feel credible, not just cute.
Well, what he truly nailed, I think, was simplifying Taoism without trivializing it. That's the key. He saw how philosophy often gets trapped, either in dense academic jargon or, on the other end, in sort of superficial, quick fix, self-help.
Right, the buzzwords.
Exactly. And he wanted to cut through that whole cult of overthinking. Pooh, ironically, became his perfect way in. Hoff's main goal was really to make Taoism approachable, to show that wisdom isn't some comtartive thing you have to attain, something out there. It's intrinsic. It's part of our natural state. He's basically saying, look at Pooh. He just is.
And he does it so brilliantly with these character metaphors. They really stick with you, don't they? You've got Pooh, obviously, the accidental Taoist sage. He's just present, intuitive, not weighed down by all that mental chatter.
Right.
But then the others, like Rabbit. He embodies cleverness, sure, but without real wisdom, always busy, always planning something.
Always rushing.
And Owl. Owl symbolizes that pompousness of knowledge without real understanding, over-intellectualizing every little thing.
The expert who misses the point.
And then there's poor Eeyore, the poster child for, resisting joy, just that deep-seated pessimism hanging over him like his own personal rain cloud.
And what's really fascinating is how Hoff uses this whole cast, this ensemble, to deliver a core message. Enlightenment isn't about getting more stuff or knowing more facts. It's actually about shedding the unnecessary, letting go, returning to a more, maybe, childlike state of being.
Childlike, not childish, there's a difference.
Exactly, a crucial difference.
Please.
He's asking us, what does it mean to live wisely? To live in harmony with life's flow without constantly making everything more complicated than it needs to be.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit more. Let's dive into some of the really impactful ideas from the book, starting with what Hoff calls the Pooh way. For me, this is where it really starts to click.
The Pooh way. It's just profound in its simplicity. Hoff argues that wisdom isn't about piling things up, accumulating knowledge. It's about alignment. Pooh doesn't struggle to be wise, he just is. He's not trying to learn more or prove anything.
Which is so different from how we usually think about wisdom.
Totally. Think about it. Hoff suggests that while Rabbit's busy accumulating facts and making these intricate, clever plans, Pooh, with his very little brain, actually navigates life with, greater wisdom. There's that quote, right? While Rabbit's busy looking for a clever way to do something, Pooh just finds the simple way. It's about that gut feeling, that intrinsic understanding, not straining for it.
Okay, so if wisdom isn't about striving, how do we actually act wisely? That brings us to another concept, one that feels almost rebellious today. Wu-wei effortless action. I mean, if I told my boss I was practicing effortless action...
Yeah, you might get a look.
Right, a few raised eyebrows, definitely. How does Hoff square this with, actually getting things done in the real world?
It's a fantastic question, and it really does challenge the status quo, the way we operate. Wu-wei doesn't mean doing nothing, being vicissive. It means doing by not forcing, or, going with the flow. Pooh succeeds not because he forces situations, but because he lets them unfold. He responds simply, honestly.
Like finding the bridge by following the stream.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's that brilliant quote, when you work with Wu-wei, you put the round peg in the round hole and the square peg in the square hole. It's about working with your nature, with the situation, not fighting against it. And yeah, this directly challenges what we often call the cult of hustle, that constant grind.
Yeah, hustle culture.
It suggests that less forced effort, if it's aligned with the natural way of things, often leads to more harmony, better outcomes. It's a call to, Like, observe first, understand, then act appropriately. Don't just bulldozer through.
It's amazing how he uses these simple images. So if we're not constantly striving or forcing, what about just being okay as we are?
Yeah.
Hoff introduces the uncarved block, or Pooh, that one. That felt really radical to me.
Oh, Pooh is incredibly powerful. Imagine like a block of wood, just natural, before anyone started carving it or varnishing it to fit some idea of what it should be.
Right, in its raw state.
Exactly. Hoff argues that things, and this includes people in their raw, natural, untouched state, possess their greatest power, their authenticity. Pooh, in his simple, uncluttered way, perfectly embodies this uncarved block. And it's such a profound counter-narrative to our world of constant self-improvement, constant optimization.
Always needing an upgrade.
Right. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, you are already enough, just as you are, without needing endless fixing or polishing.
That's a big one. Okay, so we flow more, embrace our natural state. But what about those times when we're, well, doing nothing? That's where Hoff brings in another key Taoist idea, the usefulness of nothing. This feels like a direct challenge to our busy lives, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And it's such a vital counterpoint in today's world. This Taoist idea says that emptiness, stillness, they aren't just voids to be filled up quickly. They're essential spaces, spaces of possibility.
Yeah.
Hoff uses that classic Taoist line, right? The usefulness of a cup is in its emptiness.
Ah, yeah, I remember that.
Think about it. The cup isn't useful because of the ceramic, but because of the space inside it.
Mhm.
That or the tea or whatever. This really challenges a world addicted to noise, to activity, constantly filling every single moment. It brings dignity back to rest, to idleness, even silence. It reminds us that these empty spaces are actually where creativity can spark, where real connection happens, where healing takes place.
And tying this all together, for me anyways, how Hoff portrays Pooh as a model of contentment. This, maybe above all, is the most impressive thing about the book. He makes wisdom feel accessible. He democratizes it.
He pulls it off beautifully, doesn't he? Making a bear of very little brain into a genuine sage. It shows us that deep understanding isn't just for philosophers or gurus in robes. Pooh's simple delight, in a jar of honey or just a quiet walk in the woods. That becomes the ultimate picture of Taoist wisdom. It shows that happiness, real insight, often comes from simple contentment, not from grand plans or striving for big achievements.
You don't need a PhD to be wise.
Exactly. Sometimes the wisest thing is just enjoying your breakfast, appreciating the small joys right here, right now, with an open heart.
So Hoff makes wisdom accessible, shows it's about contentment. And with that kind of gentle Pooh-like view, he then really takes aim at some of the big myths our society sells us. Myths about success, about wisdom, myths that are still very much alive today, shaping how we live. This is where it gets really interesting.
Oh, absolutely. He tears them down. But with such warmth and humor, you barely notice it happening sometimes. The first big one. Myth 1. Wisdom, intelligence, education, or complexity. Common idea. The smarter you are, the more degrees you have, the more complex you're thinking, the wiser you must be.
We definitely value that, don't we? Complexity.
We do. But Hoff debunks it. He shows Owl with all his long words and facts, and Rabbit with his clever schemes. They often just get tangled up in their own thinking. Pooh, with his very little brain, actually gets life better precisely because he doesn't overcomplicate it. So simplicity and just being present. Turns out they can trump book smarts. It's a pretty radical idea, challenging our deep belief that more intellect equals more wisdom.
I have to admit, I can be such a rabbit sometimes, filling every minute thinking I'm being super productive.
We all can.
And then I realize I've completely missed something simple, like you said, just watching my dog chase a squirrel or something. Is that the kind of quiet rebellion Hoff's nudging us towards? Which leads right into myth 2. Busyness equals value. We've all fallen for this one, haven't we? That constant rushing proves our worth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Hoff debunks this by showing how Rabbit's constant, frantic busyness, it just creates confusion most of the time, not harmony. Pooh, meanwhile, he just ambles along, maybe hums a little tune, and somehow he ends up exactly where he needs to be.
Yeah.
So Hoff's point is, constant busyness isn't the same as being effective, and definitely not the same as being fulfilled. It's about figuring out what really needs doing, not just filling time.
Okay, then there's myth 3. Things need to be improved to be valuable. We live in this world obsessed with self-optimization, right? Always feeling like we need to be refining ourselves, our work, maybe even other people.
Yeah, that pressure is immense. And this is where that idea of the uncarved block, pie, comes back so strongly. Hoff shows that natural simplicity, that raw state, is already complete, whole, over carving, over polishing. It actually destroys the essence, the inherent power of something. The debunk here is wholeness already exists in your natural state. You don't need constant fixing or upgrading. It's a powerful thought in a world that profits from making us feel like we're never quite good enough.
It really is. And what about myth 4? Nothingness equals uselessness. This is huge in our always-on culture. That idea of doing nothing often feels wrong, like we should feel guilty.
We do feel guilty. The misconception is that emptiness, silence, just stopping. It's a waste of precious time. But Taoism teaches, like we said, the usefulness of a pot is in its emptiness. Hoff uses this to show that stillness and space, they aren't just useful, they're absolutely necessary. Rest, pauses, allowing some empty space in your life, these aren't voids to fill frantically. They're essential for creativity, for reflection, for real connection.
Yeah.
Our restless culture's biggest fear idleness might actually be its cure.
Wow. Okay, and finally, he tackles myth 5. Seriousness equals importance. We tend to think that for wisdom to be really meaningful, it has to be like solemn, heavy, very adult.
Right, like wisdom wears a frown. Yet Hoff delivers these incredibly deep Taoist truths through, well, playful stories, silly little rhymes, and a bumbling bear who loves honey. His debunking shows us that childlike joy, lightness, they aren't the opposite of wisdom. They can actually be its truest expression. So Hoff is suggesting maybe wisdom isn't found only in serious study or heavy pronouncements. Maybe it's also in the joy and playfulness we often dismiss as childish. That's really counterintuitive for a lot of us, isn't it?
Oh, it absolutely is. So, okay, what does all this mean for us today? I mean, if Hoff thought the 1980s were rushed,
Oh boy.
imagine our world now. Constant optimization, social media dopamine loops, the relentless demands of digital life. This book feels, I don't know, more urgent than ever.
It truly does. It really resonates.
Right.
Let's look at the cult of busyness. That rabbit energy is everywhere now, right? Back then, rabbit was Hoff's symbol for, endless clever plans. Today, that's morphed into our 24/7 productivity grind. Our self-worth often feels tied to how many tasks we check off, how many notifications we clear.
The tyranny of the inbox.
Exactly. Hoff's urgent reminder that cleverness without wisdom is just noise that could literally save us from collective burnout. We're often busy just being busy, not because it leads anywhere meaningful.
And then there's the over-intellectualizing life, Owl's legacy, but like amplified massively by social media and now increasingly by AI.
Oh, definitely.
We are absolutely drowning in information, aren't we? TED Talks, Twitter threads, LinkedIn thought leaders, endless data streams. And now with AI, we have systems that can generate mountains of text, facts, explanations, creating this illusion of knowing, but maybe without fostering genuine understanding or lived wisdom.
That's a critical point. The urgency here is profound. Hoff's core lesson that wisdom is lived simplicity, not just endless words or data points, is such a powerful antidote. AI, while amazing at processing information, kind of inadvertently fuels this owl tendency, doesn't it? It generates vast amounts of content, makes us feel like we're learning or knowing more, but without that space for reflection, for integration, it just becomes more noise. Clarity isn't found in more data, it's found in how we simplify and embody what matters.
And we can't forget cynicism as a default setting, the Eeyore vibe in the digital age. Eeyore's gloom back then. Now it feels like our constant doom scrolling, the background hum of climate anxiety, financial worries. It's easy to get stuck there.
It really is. And that's precisely why Pooh's gentle joy, seen in this context, isn't some naive attempt to escape reality. It's actually an act of resistance. To consciously choose small happinesses, to find contentment in simple things today. That's almost revolutionary in a world that often feels overwhelming and negative. It's about cultivating that inner resilience, that Pooh-like ability to appreciate the sunbeam even when there are clouds.
And what about the lost art of doing nothing? Hoff's Taoist value of emptiness. That seems crucial today. A time when even taking a break feels like it needs to be scheduled, optimized. Rest comes with guilt.
Even meditation apps have streaks and badges now, right? Gamifying stillness.
Exactly. The idea of just being makes us uncomfortable.
And his insistence that the usefulness of a cup is in its emptiness is a reminder we desperately need. Those spaces of nothing aren't wasted. They're where creativity sparks, where connections deepen, where healing happens. This stands in such stark contrast to the relentless, always-on nature that AI often represents and, frankly, encourages this idea that every moment can be and maybe should be optimized or monetized. The Tao, Hoff reminds us, is often found in the pause.
So ultimately, it all circles back to simplicity as wisdom. The Pooh way. Pooh's charm was his simple-mindedness, right? Which Hoff brilliantly reframed as deep alignment with the Tao. But today, complexity sells. Biohacks, algorithms, intricate self-improvement systems. Simplicity often gets treated as childish, naive, something you grow out of.
But Hoff's voice cuts right through that noise. He tells us, quite clearly, simplicity isn't regression. It is clarity. In an age drowning in overwhelm, embracing simplicity might not just be nice, it might be the only sane way forward. It's about remembering that the most profound truths are often the simplest ones.
So what we're really saying is Hoff's book isn't just some playful intro to Taoism. It's almost like survival literature for the digital age, living like Pooh today. It's like a quiet act of rebellion against a system that seems to profit from our constant restlessness and dissatisfaction. Okay, so let's try and distill this down. If someone were to take away just 5 core principles from Hoff, 5 things he really hopes will stick with us, what would they be?
All right, the essence of the Hundred Acre Woods wisdom, 5 key takeaways. First, simplicity is wisdom. True clarity doesn't come from adding more, but from stripping life down to what's natural and essential.
Less is more.
Basically, yes. Second, effortless action. Stop forcing things. Forcing life creates resistance. Flowing with it creates harmony.
Work smarter, not harder, maybe.
In a Taoist sense, yes. Third, the uncarved block.
Oh.
Things, and especially people, are most powerful and whole in their natural, untouched state. Remember, you are already enough.
That's a big one. Number 4.
Fourth, the usefulness of nothing. Emptiness, stillness, non-doing. These aren't wastes of time. They are essential spaces where life breathes, where creativity sparks, where you reconnect.
Okay, and the last one.
And finally, number 5, childlike joy as true wisdom. Wisdom isn't always solemn or heavy. It can be playful, light, and deeply present. Think of Pooh's simple delight in the smackerel of honey. That is wisdom in action.
It's truly profound, isn't it? How a book that looks like it belongs on a child's shelf ends up being such a powerful guide for navigating modern adulthood. It's not really about becoming someone else, is it? It's more about remembering who you already are, underneath all the noise. It reminds us that Pooh's way of being simple, present, isn't just a fantasy. It's an invitation back to ourselves.
And that's the final thought I'd love to leave you with, sort of a provocative nudge. Pooh isn't the exception. Pooh is you, or at least a part of you. The natural, uncarved, effortlessly flowing part, if only you'd let yourself be. He represents that part of us that often gets stifled by the demands, the complexities, the shoulds of modern life.
So as you go about your day after listening to this, maybe we can encourage you to reflect a little. Where might you be acting like a rabbit, always busy? Or an owl overthinking everything? Or maybe even an Eeyore, stuck in a bit of gloom? And then maybe consider, how could you invite just a little more Pooh into your day? What small act of wu-wei effortless action, or even just conscious nothingness, can you practice, even for just a few minutes, just to reconnect with that simple, wise, uncarved block within you? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.